This is a PSA to any online voice actors who may have dealt with not being credited in projects they participate in. If you or another actor has experienced this, keep watching. We may be able to provide you with a solution.
Greetings everyone, this is the Bold King Cole, part of LuckoDaStars, and I'm going to be informing something very important in regards to the current thing I have been researching. Because of the very nature of this, I'm going to try to keep this very serious and concise and clear as possible. Whenever you're making something that is created for the mass public, such as if you create a video game, art, etc., and if we utilize them, we always have to be sure to give the proper credit where they are due. For one example, let's say if I created something to become a 3D model, I still utilized the 2D assets that was created prior, of a cartoon character or whichever, and then I translate it into something to become something more like this. Whenever I utilize something like that, I always make sure that I give credit to the original creator so that they get the proper recognition as well as the credit goes towards them because they were the actual creator of said product. Another example is if you help create an animation or a video that utilizes multiple artists as well as multiple voice actors and many other people to work on this product. It is very important to give credit to the creators for your project because without them, you wouldn't have the product that you have now. There is a difference between having a clip from a TV show and from other places and a reference. Those two things are completely different. If you utilize a clip from a TV show, a cartoon, a documentary, heck, sometimes music, you need to give the proper credit where they belong to. Whereas a reference is, well, just hand and fist. It's already strongly implied, as well as they give their credits to the reference point in question, and therefore they don't need to credit. But, as we soon learn, crediting is not just exclusive with just videos or just art in general, but it also includes onto a wider array of things like writing, as well as marketing, sometimes even more than just that. Because this subject matter actually does affect people sometimes on a professional level, I actually needed some help to tell these stories. Some of them were too afraid to speak out, or some of them were not able to speak out because of a non-disclosure agreement, and therefore, if they were to inform, they would violate the terms of the agreement, of which I can actually give my full respects to. So, to rectify this particular issue, I couldn't do this project alone. I did ask around for potential people to tell me their stories and to inform me on how they handled it. And to better explain the major things that happened, allow me to introduce LightDivinity. She will be explaining the biggest reasons why these type of things do happen in regards to crediting or the lack thereof.
There are many ways that someone could not have been credited or outright removed. Here are 7 reasons and stories that detail these points. Number 1. Had differences of ideals in or outside of a project. This usually happens when a director has an idea planned out, but an actor may not achieve exactly what they want or have something else in mind. However, directors and VAs should always compromise to find middle ground. There should be no dominating opinion.
I've quit a lot of projects in and out of voice acting due to the difference of ideals between me and the director, or myself and some of the crewmates especially. However, I personally believe that everyone and everything is equal or on equal footing. I'm not an activist or a vegan, and I don't ever sling one way or another, but I do believe we're all equal and no one should be forced to act, say, or think anything different than they normally would themselves. So, for example, I've been in projects where people try to push various agendas, both political, social, heck, even religious agendas as well. It doesn't really matter what the agenda is, I've been there and I've seen people push it. I've also seen people do and say controversial things, and honestly, if you don't agree with them or stayed silent, then you would be chastised for it.
Number 2. The project runner was way too strict or overbearing. Being strict is a sort of gray area. The reason why they are strict is because they have a certain vision for the project or character. Following through with the limitations do show that you are willing to work in tougher conditions. However, when the project runner is clearly being controlling onto smaller details, this can cause issues with the contributors.
When I was working with this client was giving off a lot of red flags, which made things a lot more difficult for me when it comes to voice acting. As an example, this client said that I was not allowed to make multiple retakes, I was only allowed to make one take, no outtakes. I was to send it to said client, and if the client liked it, he or she would tell me to record again and tell me what I need to fix, which completely did not make any sense. As, of course, one, I was in a time crunch, since I was working with other commissions, and two, I was trying to at least try and find some workaround to at least fulfill the wishes of said client.
Number 3. The project runner simply forgot. It's uncommon that a person would be forgotten to be credited in a project, especially so if there is a substantial amount of people. If you were uncredited in the project that you participated in, a simple talk with the project runner to add your name in the description or in the IMDb as uncredited would be the best route. Be sure to be polite and professional.
Such as the case with one of my most popular videos I ever made, Sexy Bone. If you explore all the way back, I did input the link where I found the comic, but someone also notified me that the link in question was not correct and did not go to the original artist. They gave me the link, as well as the other person gave me the correct link after that one, so I updated the resources of where it's supposed to pertain to.
Number 4. The project runner refuses to give credit. This type of practice is not only unprofessional. In many cases within the actual field of entertainment, it is illegal. There are going to be times where the project runner will not credit without reason. This type of practice does make the contributors feel cheated and degraded. Contributors work hard for what they have provided, and not being credited can lead to negative outcomes on the project runner and sometimes even the contributor.
Not too long ago, I voiced in a project in which the client was overly strict for voicing a character, and when I chose not to work with the individual due to restrictive practices, the client in question did not credit me at all in the video nor in the description. It baffled me that once I requested the client not to use my voice, I was blocked before I could say anything. It frustrates me that people like that get away with it. I spread the word to other actors and friends to not work with this client.
Number 5. The contributor volunteered not to be credited. There are times when the contributor doesn't want their name within a project. It could be for any number of reasons, really. Either because they are embarrassed of the project, they don't feel comfortable with the project, or it could be based upon the work with other collaborators or many other factors. Sometimes it's for better or for worse, depending on the end project.
There were a few projects in my past that I opted not to be credited because, not only just because I didn't like the quality of the product, it just turned out it was just more hassle than it was honestly worth. This was also during the time where I was kind of arrogant and think so highly of myself because, I got myself a fantastic microphone. But there were many times where I just didn't want to give credit to myself.
Number 6. The project runner is not transparent. When the project runner is not being upfront and fully honest in regards to how they want the project to be done, the contributors do feel isolated and feel like they are undermined. Sometimes it is simply unintentional, but be sure to speak with them and be honest. After all, you should be a professional within your field and with your manners.
Hello, my name is Shay. and I'm a fantasy author with a rather particular goal: to inspire others. But nothing can ever be smooth sailing. No matter how you function as a freelancer, someone will always be a critic. The past where I tried to help out a romance author, I read her previous 2 books and picked up the 3rd to edit for her. I respected her decisions to work on a budget, so I agreed on $60. I undercut a lot of the generosity. Honestly, I had a lot of problems with how the first 2 books were handled. Then I got into book 3, and I felt like I was sinking a little. No matter what comments I made or what I thought, it seemed like she always had an excuse for her writing and didn't take anything I said into consideration. I always try my best to make sure that others learn from their own experiences. And so, in the end, I came up with my own solution to the problem. I simply let it be a lesson to myself.
Number 7. The project runner, contributor, or collaborator took advantage of the others. While many people do in fact want to have their name out there, or they simply enjoy what they produce, there are times that someone would likely take advantage of the want to be noticed, sometimes resulting in choices of bad judgment that could have long-lasting effects.
I've made a project that got a lot of traction from Reddit. Lots of gaming Facebook pages started contacting me, asking for permission to use my footage. I was excited that people got interested in my project, and since it was the first time something I've made got this popular, I was kind to everyone and let them use my footage. Those who requested permission mostly gave me the credit by mentioning my name and linking my YouTube channel. Most of them didn't, even though I requested for the channel to be credited. After everyone started to share my stuff, I've noticed that all the big pages were putting ads over my content, earning revenue from the views that even I had not earned from my videos. I didn't want to monetize my videos since the Spyro project was a fan project based on the copyrighted IP which I didn't own, so I didn't want to make any money out of it. I felt a bit cheated and scammed since everyone promised me exposure since I kinda got it, but they were racking millions of views on Facebook and thousands of views on YouTube and earning money from it, without even sharing a penny with me. I thought to myself that obviously this was my mistake, that I didn't know I could write some kind of contract or request revenue share. I've spent on this project about a year or even more, working on it in my free time and learning how to use Unreal Engine, so I think if I didn't want to earn any money on the project with respect to the copyrighted IP, so should they. Afterwards, I've also done some research and noticed even more articles and pages sharing my content without giving me credit, writing misleading information, or re-uploading my demo even though I asked not to. Some websites were saying that I'm a studio named Valorfall Studios, even though I'm just a single person developing this project. It was a bit funny to me and made me feel happy that some people think that my work is such a high standard that they thought I'm a studio rather than an individual. Overall, the whole situation prompted me to do some research and learn what my rights are and what I could do next time to prevent this from happening again.
These are just 7 stories of what happened in regards to crediting, whether they were voice actors, writers, game creators, or some other thing. In many cases, the 7 points that were previously established had all been happening throughout the industry, such as with film, anime, animation, voice acting, and then some. One such instance of someone stealing another person's artwork to benefit only themselves is one famous example that happened back in 2017 regarding to the Brave Little Girl statue that was posted in front of the Bronze Bull statue in New York. Because this girl was specifically in front of that bull that was an older piece back in the 1980s, during the whole market crash of the 1980s that led to a lot of events that happen even now. According to the artist himself, The bronze bowl that was created was supposed to be a symbol to remain strong and have fortitude during the whole crisis of the whole market crash that happened. However, because that person put their little girl statue in front of the bowl, it actually is stealing the artwork of what originally was supposed to be a different meaning. Another more recent event in regards to stealing credit, as well as not crediting to the original creator of said work, would also have to be with the Ruby DC comics, where a particular character actually did steal the artwork design for a specific type of weapon that was fan created, a specialized dust revolver that was also able to turn to what I assume to be an axe. They gave an excuse regarding to they just Googled the first thing they found and just played along with it, but that in all truth makes the matter even worse. The best way to remedy that type of issue would actually have the original creator be contacted and the company themselves buy the design from them. An excellent example of buying someone else's design would actually be with Valve with Team Fortress 2. The administrator was actually designed by this particular artist. Valve loved the character's design so much that they did have contact with this particular person, and they paid her so that they can have the design of the administrator since they loved it so much. And ever since then, she has been the very face of, well, the second face of Team Fortress. Even more so in the comics that was utilized. She had redesigns in the comics, but that's mainly because of artist interpretation. So that's to be expected. And lastly, one of the more recent examples that's also one of the most controversial is regarding to the current Vic Mignogna situation as of 2019, as of posting this particular video out. This will likely be dated at this point in time. Because of the allegations that were placed against him, many things regarding to his voice work has been basically stonewalled. And Funimation chose to remove his name from the credits from the movie that he had provided the majority of his voice into, which would be Dragon Ball Super Broly. It was only until many people lashed out against Funimation that they put his name back onto the credits on the IMDb as well as the official re-releases.
They'd get angry, they'd boot you out, they'd tell you, that you don't get anything or deserve anything for it, and I didn't ever like that. And when these directors all state to you at the very end of the day that you're not even going to get credit for something despite your difference of belief or your work ethic, no matter how good or how bad you are, if they say, well, you're not going to be getting credit, you're not going to be getting money, you're not going to be getting anything, you should be doing it for the experience and happy that I've given you that. It's sort of like they're on a pedestal saying that they are your king, they are your queen. They don't owe you anything and you owe them everything. I say, no, absolutely not. Stand up for yourself. You're an artist. You're working all night long sometimes just to make one voice clip. You are entitled at the very bare minimum to credit. You aren't obviously entitled to pay all the time, but if you are, you are. But you are entitled to credit where credit is due. Experience is one thing, but if no one knows that that's your voice, that's a waste of your time, and honestly, you shouldn't stand for it. You are too good for that. I don't care how little you are. I started off in the beginning of September, and I applied for over 100 projects voice acting wise with a crappy equipment and no real talent. Or so I thought. People really wanted to hear my voice, and then I even ran into some people who flat out said, I don't care. Well, you know what? I have enough confidence in myself to say, if you're not going to give me credit, if I'm not worth your time that much, then you're not worth my voice. And you people, all of you, all ages, genders, doesn't matter who you are or what you are, stand up for yourself. You deserve it, and you've earned it. All of your life, you've been building to this moment. You have earned your right to credit. Don't let anyone take that away from you, ever.
Ending thoughts. Making sure you credit your workers not only within the field of entertainment is important, it also helps with people within the industry to locate specific voices so they can hire them for an official job or for portfolio purposes. Sometimes we do forget about those who contributed to a large event or the minor things for a task, but those smaller things do contribute to something even bigger and help with the flow of order and sometimes the recognition for those who have no name. Oftentimes, people who are smaller and often ignored are pushed away because they do not have the status to be recognized. But perhaps if we do something that does help lesser known people obtain that ray from the spotlight, perhaps they may shine the brightest.